Sometimes, the short time spent with an animal has the potential of leaving a lasting impression. One fateful event led a man to extending a helping hand towards a she-wolf and her cubs. After several years, he returned to the forest, but did not expect what would be waiting for him there. Be sure to stay tuned to find out what happened. Saving more than one life. The Alaskan woods, early in the morning, was a cold and eerie place. As a man wandered around, he had the sinking feeling that there was something potentially dangerous hidden among the trees. It was not long into his trek before the man stumbled upon a sight that would end up affecting him for the rest of his life. There was a large wolf, and it was stuck in a trap. Although his survival instinct was urging him to run away and take advantage of the fact that the wolf was stuck and would not be able to attack him, the humane side of him took over. This part of him wanted to help. As he noticed the fullness of her teats, he imagined a group of several wolf cubs, ones that would be helpless and desperate for their mother. He felt guilty at having to leave her, but his priority at that moment was finding her children. So he set out to the woods once again, this time searching for the missing cubs. He had a feeling that they were not too far from where their mother was. After some time, he had successfully located them. He heard them before he saw them. There were too many to count, and they were huddled together. Their little whining noses got louder as the man tried to approach them. Surely they were hungry and terrified. It had to have been at least a few days since they last saw their mother. The man leaned over and tried to pick one up. Surprisingly, the little cub didn't fight back. Soon, he had all of them in his arms. They were probably seeking some warmth. The man wasted no time heading back to where he had left the female wolf. As he got closer to where she was located, she started howling. She could sense her cubs again. The man dropped the pups, who were eager to return to their mother. They immediately latched onto her teats, clearly satisfied to be feeding again. The man did not want to disturb their special moment, so he waited until the last cub was full, before he started to get closer to the wolf's trapped leg. The wolf growled. The man took several steps back. He was slightly confused by her reaction. He had saved her pups and had done nothing to hurt her. Perhaps she was distrustful of people in general. He couldn't blame her for that. The man sat down by a tree and watched the wolf. Suddenly, the pups started to crawl over to him. Some had stayed to cuddle with their mother, but all the rest had joined him by the tree. That's it, he thought. I need to prove to her that I can be trusted. Over the next week, he did all he could to help the wolf and her cubs out. He brought all of them food and played with the cubs when he was awake. He slept right beside them and was fortunate that nothing potentially dangerous had approached them. For a week, it was like they lived in a small world of their own. As each day passed, the she-wolf grew less and less hostile. It took some time, but one day, the man approached the she-wolf and she did not move. Instead, she looked as if she was patiently waiting for him to do something. He picked up on the wolf's open body language and kneeled down, closer to her than he had ever been. Still, she merely looked at him. There it is, he thought to himself. I finally gained her trust. It didn't take him long to remove the trap, but it was clear that it was painful for the wolf. She made a whimpering noise, but was nonetheless joyful to be free once again. It was because of this stranger that she was free again. She was resilient, and her leg would heal in due time. The man was glad to see the mother and her cubs together, no traps or distance between them. As they all howled and played around together, the man silently left the woods. Many years later, the man returned. The forest was still as majestic as it was the last time he had seen it. Tracing his steps, the man ended up leading himself back to the rusty trap which once held a wolf. As if on cue, a shadow emerged from behind the tree. The man lost his breath at what was before him. The she-wolf, slightly aged and with a fully healed leg, stood strong. Their eyes locked. She recognized him immediately and stepped closer to him. The last time he was in those woods, he ended up saving more than one life. While sat down, he stroked the wolf's smoky fur. The man felt a great sense of peace. Hopefully you enjoyed this great story. Although I am unsure of this story's authenticity, stay tuned to hear about the next ones, which are definitely true. There's a kind side too. Wolves are typically acknowledged as dangerous animals. Much like wolves, sharks share a frightening reputation. Therefore, it often comes as a surprise to find out that it is possible for a human to develop a friendship with such a creature. A couple of decades ago, a diver came across a tiger shark during one of his expeditions. This diver's name was Jim, and he had quite a lot of experience with sea animals. Although it is considered normal for a human to be scared of sharks, it turns out that wild sharks are terrified of humans. When Emma first swam by, Jim said, referring to his tiger shark friend, she was afraid. Jim was also quite intimidated by the shark. There has to be a lot of trust in this kind of situation. Sharks are undoubtedly faster and stronger than the average human. Even though this friendship did not start off on ideal terms, eventually, Emma opened up to the diver. This was because Jim would keep diving in the same area. In spite of her initial wariness, Emma found herself continuing to visit him. One way they showed a sense of trust was by touch. Jim would gently rub her head. Because of Jim, she was able to conquer her fear of humans. Jim said, "Once she gained a sense of trust, she knew I would never hurt her. She would follow me around everywhere I go." Imagine having a shark as your loyal companion. Although this connection took time to flourish, Jim would most likely say that it was most definitely worth it. A friend forever. When Joao was at the beach, he stumbled upon an injured penguin. The bird's body was coated with oil. It struggled to move. He did not have it in his heart to abandon the poor creature. With gentle hands, Joao took the penguin back to his home. Joao was thorough in his attempt to get rid of the oil, which was stuck to the penguin's body. After some time, the penguin was clean once more. This meant the penguin was now free to move again. However, it was still in a weak state, so Joao took on the responsibility of caring for it. Over the next few days, Joao provided food and shelter for the penguin. He was nurturing him back to health so that eventually the penguin would be able to return to the water. After feeling a connection with the animal, Joao decided to name the Magellanic penguin Dindim. It is clear that this connection went both ways. Dindim was at full health and was therefore sent off to return to the sea, and yet he ended up coming back purely so that he could see Joao again. Every year this happens. The penguin returns to Joao's home, eager to be around the man who saved his life. This long journey from the penguin's homeland to Joao's backyard is worth the effort. It has been confirmed by scientists that penguins are very loyal creatures, and clearly Dindim is no exception. When he returns, he sleeps in the backyard, since it is not far from the beach. What makes this story special is the fact that Dindim is not a pet. He is a free animal who chooses to visit a human regularly, recognizing Joao as a forever friend. After several years, Joao now considers the little penguin as part of his family, greeted with a kiss. There is something amazing about befriending a sea animal. The penguin in the last story traveled such long distances just for their friend. In this story, we have a Japanese diver who has developed a friendship with a wrasse fish. Hiroyuki has been diving for most of his life. He started at the age of 18, and over 5 decades later, he has only been building up on his experience. His skill has also led to some life-changing opportunities. For example, he was given the task of overseeing Shinto temple, one that is stationed underwater. Hiroyuki had been looking after the religious shrine for a long time. Because this shrine's unique location, he has been regularly exposed to the wildlife belonging to the Tateyama Bay. In particular, he met a female sheepshead wrasse who was named Yoriko. Scientific studies have been able to show us that fish have the ability to recognize human faces. This means that every time that Yoriko and Hiroyuki meet, the fish actually knows who the man is. Hiroyuki actually has a very sweet way of greeting her. He kisses her. "I kissed her once," he explained. "I'm the only person she'll let do it." Just like the previous stories, there came a time when the animal got injured. Luckily, Yoriko had a special companion who hand-fed her for days until she fully recovered. This experience was one of many that strengthened the bond between them. Looking back at their relationship, the diver said, "I have an amazing sense of accomplishment in my heart. I'm sure that if any of us were to have a similar experience to Hiroyuki, we too would feel like we've achieved something very special." It sure was an incredible thing to see how much an animal can mean to a person. If you found any of these special relationships interesting, leave a like down below. And don't forget to subscribe to hear more. I'll see you again in the next video.